Remember that co-op Zelda game you never played? No, not that one. The 4-player one. No, not that one either. I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures, the most forgotten Zelda game of all time. Zelda 4 Swords Adventures released June 7th, 2004 in North America, in between and in close proximity to the Wind Waker and the Minish Cap. The game distinguished itself by allowing players to control 4 different links simultaneously. Additionally, there's a single-player option that has the player controlling all 4 links, entering 4 different formations using the C-stick to defeat enemies and solve puzzles across Hyrule. 4 Swords Adventures is a Super Nintendo game at heart. Well, a Super Nintendo game that was pumped with 44 gallons of Lon Lon Ranch milk. What do I mean by that? Well, thanks to the power of the Nintendo GameCube, the developers were able to incorporate various wacky concepts into this quasi-16-bit Zelda game, such as an abundance of enemies on screen, and 3D animated embellishments in the game world. 4 Swords Adventures also features a dynamic camera that zooms in and out during gameplay, adding a whole new element of cinematography never seen in a top-down Zelda game before. One thing that is clear while playing 4 Swords Adventures is the developers had a lot of fun implementing visual components and combat scenarios that simply weren't possible in an actual 16-bit game. A favorite of mine is the fire, which bears a striking resemblance to the fire in the Wind Waker. There's something so oddly satisfying about seeing the melding of 2D and 3D Zelda. It's a stylish art direction, and it hasn't been implemented since. The box art for 4 Swords Adventures perfectly encapsulates the combat of the game, with all 4 links being surrounded by dozens of enemies. It is without a doubt some of the most explosive and chaotic combat in the Zelda series. As a kid, I played the game alone, mainly because I didn't like playing games with others, but also because I had no one to play with. But as an adult, I also have no one to play with. So while 4 Swords Adventures is a tried and true co-op experience, I've only played the game solo. Thankfully, playing single player feels totally natural. Controlling 4 different links sounds challenging, but thanks to the quick formations, it's fairly easy to get a hang of things early on. Zelda 4 Swords Adventures received a very positive critical reception. The game earned an average score of 86 on Metacritic. GamesRadar called it one of the finest multiplayer games ever. But while the game garnered a mostly positive reception, unfortunately, most gamers never indulged in it. While it's hard to find concrete numbers on 4 Swords Adventures sales figures, according to fan-collected statistics, the game sold around 800,000 copies worldwide, which means it's likely the worst-selling Zelda game of all time. But why did this happen exactly? The Zelda fanbase was devouring the likes of the Wind Waker and the Minish Cap around the same time. And as I stressed before, 4 Swords Adventures is by no means a bad game. So what was it? Well, I think it was a combination of things that caused the game to ultimately fail. I believe that a lot of people, even to this day, misunderstand the difference between 4 Swords Adventures and the similarly named Zelda 4 Swords. To clear things up, Zelda 4 Swords was released on Game Boy Advance in 2002 as a bonus game included in A Link to the Past. It's a co-op only title that required 4 GBAs and 4 copies of the game. 4 Swords Adventures was released on GameCube 2 years later, and the story, levels, layout, essentially everything between the 2 games is entirely different. While they do share a similar visual aesthetic and they're both co-op, they're extremely different. However, I think those similarities, along with the actual titles being so similar, were enough to cause confusion over what Four Swords Adventures is, resulting in the game getting overlooked by the masses. But also, let's not forget the GameCube didn't exactly set the world on fire. The console would go on to sell under 22 million units, making it the worst-selling Nintendo home console of all time. Well, until the Wii U happened. Along with that, the barrier to entry to play Four Swords Adventures co-op mode was absolutely bonkers, to say the least. Each player had to have their own GBA and link cable, a bizarre choice by Nintendo, especially considering around the same time franchises like Halo, Smash Bros., and Mario Kart were thriving by keeping things as simple and accessible as possible for couch co-op play. To add to that, the structure of the game was no doubt a turnoff for many fans. Zelda Four Swords Adventures diverges significantly from the typical Zelda format. The game is level-based and features an overworld akin to Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country. You travel across the familiar lands of Hyrule, but not seamlessly like Zelda titles before and after. As for the story, Link is called upon by Princess Zelda to investigate the Four-Sword Shrine. However, his attempt to gain entry is halted by the sudden appearance of a dark figure resembling him, who then proceeded to trap Zelda and the six maidens in a dark crystal before retreating through a portal. Left with no alternative, Link pursues the imposter. Dark Link proceeds to taunt Link into pulling the Four-Sword, resulting in Link being split into 4 different identical copies of himself. This action also breaks the seal on the evil sorcerer Vati, who does everything in his power throughout the game to stop Link from rescuing the six maidens and Princess Zelda. Four Swords Adventures' story and lore are a bit controversial within the Zelda community. There are some inconsistencies that ultimately don't make much sense within the Zelda timeline. Some fans believe the game takes place in an alternate universe or timeline entirely, while others argue that it is a direct continuation of the events of A Link to the Past and the Oracle games. Another point of controversy is the game's overall story and its impact on the greater Zelda timeline. Some believe the game's story is simply too disconnected from the main Zelda canon and does not add much to the overall lore. But in case you were curious, canonically, Zelda Four Swords Adventures supposedly takes place after Twilight Princess. But let's be real, the Zelda timeline is a mess. If you're wondering how you can play Zelda Four Swords Adventures nowadays, unfortunately, using original hardware and a copy of the game is the only legit way to play it. Obviously, there are other methods as well, but my hope is that Nintendo revisits this little gem on modern hardware soon. The game has aged wonderfully on all fronts. Nintendo definitely wouldn't need to invest many resources in porting the game to Switch. Slap on a higher resolution and online co-op and call it a day. Or hell, it would be the perfect multiplayer game for Nintendo Switch Online, as an incentive for gamers to subscribe to the service. Zelda Four Swords Adventures might not check all the boxes when it comes to being a traditional Zelda game, but heck, Breath of the Wild didn't either. The game still offers fantastic puzzle design, intense combat and boss battles, and a truly unique Zelda co-op experience. I don't think the quality of Four Swords Adventures has anything to do with why it was overlooked and forgotten. The game happened to release in between 2 masterpiece level Zelda games with Minish Cap and Wind Waker. The title of the game was way too similar to Four Swords for GBA, confusing a large majority of gamers on what Four Swords Adventures actually was, and the ongoing controversy around the game's legitimacy among the hardcore Zelda fans definitely doesn't help. If you've played the likes of Four Swords or, God forbid, Triforce Heroes and didn't jive with them, I wouldn't let those titles influence your decision to play Four Swords Adventures. It's head and shoulders above the other co-op Zelda titles. Aside from a few peculiar quirks, it's a very memorable Zelda game worth your time. Thanks for watching the first episode of Lost in Time, a new video series here on Destructoid. Let us know if you enjoyed the video, any feedback you have, and what other games you think were lost in time that we should also cover in this series.